Hello, welcome to episode 49, Revising, the difference between good and great. Before we get started tonight, just want to give a few announcements to remind y'all that if you're making plans for the new year, don't forget that I have my signature class, Write Fearlessly, coming up in February of 2020. It's with Writing Workshops Fort Worth. It's going to be on Saturday, the 8th of February 2020 from 1 to 4 p.m. For more information, you can go to rachelpilcherwritingworkshops.com and click on Rachel in person to get the details. It'll be on the link that's in there for Writing Workshops Fort Worth. Also want to do a quick check-in with you. So how's your NaNoWriMo going? I have about 3,000 words to hit before midnight, so wish me luck. I am going to need it. I am raring to go to get things going on it, but you know, it's just that last 3,000 words. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for you that you're going to get to the finish line as well. Speaking of NaNoWriMo, tonight's topic could not have come at a better time for most of you. As you're finishing up your first drafts through NaNoWriMo, you're probably beginning to think, okay, what do I need to do with this now? Well, the next step is going to be revision. So revision is the key difference between good and great writing. Revision is the difference between a book that gets requested by and then gets rejected by agents and one that receives multiple offers for representation. It's the difference between an unpublished and published work. So revision is extraordinarily important to your writing process. And the truth is, if you don't put the work in at the revision stage, you're not going to make it as a writer. You have to revise. Nothing is perfect on the first draft. You may look at it and say, well, I can't add anything else to it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And this could be, sometimes meaning that it is, 2 to 3 drafts or 4 drafts, or it could be as high as 20. It just depends on what it's going to take to get your story to where it needs to be, where people cannot get it out of their heads. So, the types of revision. The first one we're going to deal with is the copy edit. So the copy edit is where you go through chapter by chapter and you revise at the line level. So you may be rewriting sentences, you may be deleting typos, or coming up with some better transitions between paragraphs and dialogue and narration. It's, like I said, it's probably the easiest that most people do, and a lot of people just stop right there. But it's never enough just to do that type of revision. Believe me, I have done that type of revision and I've never been happy with the stories after that. Even if they get published, I'm not quite exactly happy with how they end up. So I end up still going through and rewriting to make sure that, that they have even more to it. But yeah, you can't just finish the first draft and do this copy edit draft and then say, okay, I'm done. Time to get published. Let's send it off. No. Now, it needs significantly more work after that, and I'm sorry to tell you that. It does. As a publisher, I'm going to tell you it does. I have received work that has been submitted to me on that copy edit revision. It's not good. It can be better. It's not that it's terrible, it just could be better. So what you'll want to do after the copy edit revision to make sure you get all those little nitpicky things that'll bother you out of the way is to do a major revision. The major revision is basically, it's like doing a whole nother draft. It's where you cut whole characters and chapters, you do rewriting of new scenes, you do restructuring, and this can be anywhere between 2 to 3 months worth of work. It just depends on how much needs to be done, what you find needs to be improved. I do want to say at this point, from your major revision, from the first draft to the second or third-ish draft, whenever you're doing a major revision, you want to make sure you save this as a completely different file. So you'll have your first draft file, then you'll have your major revision file, or you'll have not just a major revision file, but like a copy edit, which you can do the copy edit on your first draft. That works really well because then you can catch those things that you kind of missed. But when you're doing that major revision, you want to save that as a completely different file, because you may decide 3 or 4 drafts from now that you really liked how you had it in the first draft. You just figured out a different way of rewording it. but you have lost all that work. So it's going to create extra time. So save it in cloud storage if you can. I use OneDrive. It works very well for me. I just upgraded it, and it's not very expensive. If you pay for the upgrade, it's not very expensive at all, and it's totally worth it. But definitely do a save of a different file. That way you can go back and forth and move things around. The next type of revision you'll want to do after you do your major revision, and it's called, makes a lot of sense, it's called a minor revision. So with your minor revision, you're still cutting, you're still adding scenes, you're rearranging the occasional chapter and working, but at this time you're working on the pace and flow of your work. You're making sure that everything that you've put in from the major revision that you've fixed, that you are able to go in and making sure it flows from the top all the way to the bottom, from the beginning to the end. Because if it doesn't have that flow, if it doesn't make sense from one part of the book to the next part, it's not going to work. And that type of revision, after you do the major revision, can take between 4 and 6 weeks. It really depends on what needs to be done. So after you've done several drafts, you're probably very tired of looking at it. That's whenever you're going to need some fresh eyes. So the next type of revision is going to be a beta reader revision. And what you'll do with the beta reader revision is you will find people who will be able to read your work and be able to give you valuable feedback on your manuscript. So these readers can be other writer friends, they can be a literary agent you may know, or if you already have a literary agent, your literary agent would love to be able to read your work to see where you're going, where your progress is. So, or they can be strangers. It could be somebody that you've just found somewhere. There's all kinds of places to find beta readers. If you look back at several episodes earlier, I talk about beta readers, so you can check that out. But they will be able to tell you if things are working well or if they're not working so well. So if you have, as I've said before, I've said this many, many times before, if you have 3 people that are telling you something's awesome and it's working really well for you, that's something you probably want to keep and make sure that maybe even work on it to make it better. If you have 3 people that tell you the same thing, that it's not working well, you can pretty much trust that there might be some issue that's within that. And some of them are probably going to be very good at telling you exactly what's wrong with it. I wouldn't trust people that would tell you, well, this is how you fix this, unless it's something that you're like, oh yeah, that would be great. But if it's something that you're not feeling very much, you can take what they're saying and then adjust it to something that works for you as a writer and for the story that you know. But you need to be able to take that criticism into account whenever it is presented to you. So you're going to revise based on the feedback from your beta readers. Now, this is the thing. If you believe your work and your story, if you have every faith in it that it is something great that needs to be out in the world, it's better for you to take the necessary time to be able to go through the revision process and to make your book the absolute best it can be. You know, and that could take anywhere between 2 and 6 months if you take everything that I've given you. And it could take even more. You know, it's not a quick and easy, simple process to get it done. And a lot of the people that are able to get all of this done in, 2 months or 6 months and be able to have a novel that they've gone from draft to finished in a year, they either have day jobs that are easy and flexible, or they don't get much sleep. So just know that it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of dedication, and it will be frustrating to look at the same thing over and over and over again, but you have to do it to get to that done. Your writing will be better for it, and you will be a stronger, better writer in the end. Thank you for joining me. If you found this information helpful, please make sure to click like, and feel free to share this video with friends or others who you feel could benefit from my words of advice. Also, don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can subscribe to this channel. It's free, and all you have to do is just ring that little bell, and it will get you to where you will get updates whenever I publish anything on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me again. Have a good day.